got two of our friends from the Foreign Service here, the ambassador from the Republic of Zambia, which we have been working in with. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for being with us here. And God, I need to know you better. The ambassador of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Yes. I could easily be your personal assistant. Our first speaker today is Dr. Rhee, who's the Associate Director of Cyber Physical Systems at the National Institutes of Standards and Technology. That equates to him being extraordinarily intelligent, I think, since I think you have to be very intelligent to get a job like that, and you're a doctor, so.
Well, I don't know about that.
So he's here to talk about the Smart Cities program and the importance of technological solutions to urban development challenges. So, Dr. Rhee.
Thank you, John, for the introduction. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the introduction. I was introduced, I work for the NIST, which is National Institute of Standards and Technology. And obviously, National Institute of Science and Standards and Technology does standards and measurement science and anything related to technologies. And one of the issues that I'm going to talk about today is a smart city. There's been a lot of discussions about smart cities recently, and especially in conjunction with something called the Internet of Things. And some of you may have heard about it, some of you may not have heard about it. It's actually making a big splash in the industry these days. I'm going to talk a little about why Internet of Things is even related to smart cities, and what are the issues in promoting and encouraging smart cities today, and how we are trying to address it, the issues. So, oops, let me see. Trying to go to the next slide. Got it. Great. So, I'll spend like 2 minutes on what Internet of Things is. You all know about Internet. What it does is connecting people through networking technologies. There's web pages and emails, which makes our lives a lot easier and more convenient. Now, the next wave of the connectivity is connecting things. Things meaning thermostats, smartphones, and any kind of building automation systems, cars, healthcare systems. All these things can be connected. The things that traditionally have not had any networking capabilities, now they're connected. So that's what Internet of Things is, and it's not necessarily new. It's been around for probably 20 years. It's just that people did not call it Internet of Things. People called it like machine-to-machine communication, for example, and then the smart systems and industrial internet, for example. And all these things, there's a new term that we use to describe all these things, which is called cyber physical systems. And cyber physical systems is very simple. There's cyber, which is essentially software and networking technology, connectivity technologies, and physical, which is sensors and actuators you can touch every day. So that's cyber physical systems, combining those two. So if you can look at it, smart robots, UAVs, autonomous vehicles, the medical sensors, all these are great examples of cyber physical systems. So with this background, let me talk a little bit about smart cities. So what is the definition of smart cities? I mean, there are so many different ways to describe it. Essentially, in a nutshell, you want to make your city smart. But what does it exactly mean? You can make cities smart in many different ways, but from technology perspective, really it's about using smart technologies, such as Internet of Things or cyber physical systems, to improve the quality of the life in cities and communities and the residents living inside of cities. That's really the definition of smart cities. The question is, how do we do it? How do we do it? And there are really two different ways to make it work. And traditionally, the people have been tried top-down approach. Really, it's about have a big plan, have a big proposal, assign some funding for it, and really, implement all kinds of infrastructure and everything. That's kind of top-down approach. There's another approach, which we call bottom-up approach. It's really rely on these small innovations that may happen in everywhere. It doesn't necessarily need to happen in public sector. It can be private sector, academia, corporations. There are small innovations that happen, and then these small innovations start bubbling up from the bottom and eventually have a real impact on our lives. So what I'm going to talk about today mostly is about this bottom-up approach. So what are the challenges in smart cities, and what is the issue of smart cities? And there are a lot of smart cities in the United States, quote unquote, and there are a lot of smart cities in Europe, Asia, everywhere in the world. So there are so many smart cities, but why aren't we seeing more of these smart cities coming up faster than what we are seeing today? I mean, if this is so great, we should be seeing the cities popping up every day, right? But it's still slow, and it's still not as fast as we think it should be. So what is the real problem? The real problem here is, it's not the only problem, but one of the problems is really fragmentation. That's what they call it. So every city does their own solution, essentially. So let's say city one wants to make their city smart. And what happens is they develop their solutions for their parking problem, their traffic problem, healthcare problem, and then essentially they reinvent the wheel for the problems that is probably already solved by other cities already. And if you go to the next city, they do exactly the same thing. They reinvent the wheel over and over again. So in this kind of scenario, neither cities nor innovators benefit from it because there's no economy of scale. So we create a program called the Global City Teams Challenge to address this issue from very much a technological perspective. Again, NIST does standards. We do standards and measurement sciences. And one way to address this issue is to standardize these solutions or technologies being used in these smart cities so that they can be easily adopted and they can be readily available to the cities and to communities. So that's the process we are taking. And how do we do this, really? So the approach is actually fairly simple. There are already existing cities out there. There's already existing smart solutions out there. I mean, think about air quality monitoring, traffic management, renewable energy, emergency response, building automation. There are already so many players and stakeholders developing or have developed working solutions. And there are already many cities who are working on these solutions. The problem today is they're so much siloed and they don't really talk to each other. They don't share those solutions. Maybe they speak each other, they shake hands, but they do not collaborate to really implement the real stuffs. I mean, that's the kind of one of the issues of the why we are not seeing the proliferation of smart cities as fast as we want. So the approach is pretty simple. Let's get these cities together. Let's get these innovators together and ask them to jointly work on solutions that is a common issues to all these cities. For example, give an example, like parking problem. Well, virtually any city that I know of have some kind of parking problems. Either they're lack of parking, there's issues of finding parking spot. There's a survey that, there's an interesting survey that I heard in New York City, about 25 to 30% of cars are looking for parking. And that kind of makes sense because when I drive from the Gaithersburg down to DC, I probably drive like 40 minutes, and then I spend probably 15 minutes looking for parking myself. So it kind of makes sense, I think. So that's a huge waste of time and energy. Think about it. Like 25 to 30% of cars are looking for parking. If you can, and that problem is not only an issue of one city. Once you have a solution, it can be applied to many, many different cities. Same thing with the traffic management. For example, 2 a.m. in the morning, you stop in a traffic light, and because there's a red light, and you stop there and just think, why am I here? Why am I stopping? I mean, there's no car around. But the reason we do it is because the system is not smart enough to recognize that there's really no traffic around. So these issues are all there, and the approach here is the approach here is to get these cities together and also get these innovators together to work on joint solutions with a joint requirement. And whatever solution that comes out of it should be shared, and not just shared in terms of like design and requirement, but the solution itself can be multiplied or replicated in multiple cities. They essentially reduce the barrier of entry for a lot of cities, and you don't have to have a huge proposal or a plan to resolve all the problems in the world. So that's kind of the high-level approach, and great. So we launched this program called the Global City Teams Challenge. That's a NIST program in collaboration with private partners and also the government agencies. US Ignite is a nonprofit organization, National Science Foundation, ITA, DOT, Health and Human Services, and NRG. I mean, when you say partnership, it's kind of loose partnership. It's not like we sign any agreement or something. It's more like they agree with the goal of this program, and they're kind of also talking to their own context or spreading the words about this program. So that's how we work together. And also the private sector partners such as Qualcomm, IBM, Intel, Cisco, Arm Holdings, GE, Juniper Networks, are fairly large companies. But we also have in total about 170 organizations and corporations participating, down to small startup, one-person company, to academic institutions such as MIT, Harvard, and Stanford, and UCLA, and also nonprofit organizations. They all participate in at least one of the teams. We have now 35 teams. Since it's a challenge, we are creating teams to address certain issues. We now have about 35 teams and about 170 corporations and organizations are participating. So these are the list of current cities that we are working with. It's just sort of partial cities. Obviously, there are more than this. I mean, some of the cities are actually participating in more than one project. For example, New York City has multiple projects working with us. Montgomery County, which is just right over. Actually, we are just right next to Montgomery County. They are doing a fantastic job in creating smart city projects, and they've been working with this program for more than a year now. And it started almost like as a small program with probably 2 companies collaborating in Montgomery County. Now is close to 20 companies in one team developing solutions for emergency response and healthcare and traffic management. So it's one of the interesting aspects of how this kind of approach can help cities and counties. So I'll give a few examples. This project is called Link NYC. It's a New York City project. It's a collaboration between New York City and Qualcomm and Titan 360 and Control Group, essentially replacing the payphone boxes with Wi-Fi hotspots, and plus, obviously the hotspot is going to do more than just Wi-Fi. It's going to have sensors for air quality. It's going to sensor for noise level, which is a big problem in large cities like New York City. And these probably, Steve can talk about this a little more, but this is a very interesting project that cities collaborating with private sector corporations. Next project is called Aribo. This is a project originally funded by U.S. Army. It's an autonomous vehicle project. Originally, it was developed to pick wounded soldiers from the battlefield without putting another soldier at risk to drive a vehicle to pick them up. So bring the autonomous vehicle to where the wounded soldier is and pick the wounded soldier back to the hospital. That was the kind of point. It was very successfully developed, and now it is also being used in commercial applications. The goal is, I think we have about 9 cities right now trying to deploy it in less than 6 months from now. And you can see a list of partners on the right side. This is a Montgomery County project called the Scale. Again, it started with a very small project, but now it has more than 15 organizations, including universities, corporations, and small startups. It's a very interesting project that you are bringing in all kinds of different stakeholders and get them collaborate toward a certain goal to make our lives better. So that's kind of interesting project. It is expanding quite rapidly. Next project is called 2030 San Francisco, essentially visualizing the energy consumption of the buildings like that. You see the green color? Those buildings are doing a great job in saving energy. You see red buildings over there? Those are not exactly up to the standards or up to the average. But having this kind of real-time, the visualization of energy usage, now the city managers can have a lot better idea about which district and which buildings they have to at least talk to and see what they can do to save more energy. Interesting project called Bringing Internet of Things Know-how to high school students. This is an education project. So some people may say, well, education, is it part of smart cities? I'll say anything that benefits people, well, it is smart cities, really. So educating high school students for the next generation training is extremely important. Think about it. Today, we have a huge internet industry and computer science industry. Why? I believe 20, 30 years ago, there were these kids who were like 10 years old who started using PCs and computers and started writing programs based on Fortran and COBOL and whatever that is. And they grew up to be these computer science engineers who brought all this industry. I think same thing's going to happen with the Internet of Things. So we need to teach high school students, not just high school students, to get used to this new technology so they can use it. So the point of doing this, students are going to build a sensor pods that's going to measure data and share the data. And these students, we're going to use the shared data to do analysis and to something exciting. What is going to be that exciting? Well, I guess high school students have better imagination than myself, so I'll just leave that to them. So this is kind of a project that we want STEM education to be reinforced with this new concept. So I'm going to conclude with a couple of advertisements. This program called the Global City Teams Challenge is a one-year program. It's an annual program which started actually July, August timeframe, and which we're going to conclude in June. In June, we will have something called a festival, which will demonstrate all these 35 teams are going to come to Washington, D.C., and they will demonstrate what they achieved. Not just presentations and speaking, they will really demonstrate real stuff, robots and sensors and all these things that can actually make real smart city. So before we go in there, we have an intermediate event called the Tech Jam, which is actually in 2 days from now, is at NIST. We actually invited all these team leads to come in and actually talk about their projects, what kind of technologies they have, and why these technologies is going to be replicable and scalable to cities. This is a very important point. We are not very interested in one-off solutions. We do standards. Standards means they have to be scalable. So we are interested in the technologies and solutions that can help people in a way that is replicable and scalable. So thank you for that. And then I hope at least I gave you some idea about what this Smart Cities is and what I'm doing. And thank you very much for listening to this presentation.
Well, thank you, Sokru. Another incredible presentation, and I guess for those who are going to ask, how can the federal government promote smart cities? I think he's answered your question. I can tell you that Qualcomm has been a lead partner of the Global City Teams Challenge, and we benefit directly from all the partnerships developed. It's been a very successful program. We're looking forward to participating over the next couple of days, and then ultimately at the Tech City Festival in the June timeframe. So thank you. And also I want to say that we're proud to be partners of the ICCF, which is also working to put together stakeholders from around the world to promote sustainable and livable communities. Thank you, John, for this opportunity to present today. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Qualcomm is also proud and committed to its own efforts to promote sustainability around the world through the wireless communications that we both develop and license. We not only create very efficient products, but we also strive to promote sustainability throughout our campus in San Diego, whether that's through LEED certified buildings, super efficient data centers, green cafes and restaurants, and also through our world-renowned Wireless Reach program, which serves to promote the use of wireless technologies in developing communities and make them more efficient and sustainable. As I mentioned, we're located in San Diego. We have about 30,000 employees, presence in over 130 countries around the world. And what we do is we make chipsets that are used in the majority of the smartphones that you all use today. So it's likely in your very pocket you have one of our products. There we go. Let me get used to this one. And in fact, mobile is the largest technology platform in the history of mankind. Today there are over 7 billion cellular connections across the globe and almost 1 billion connections, new connections made every single day. This represents unparalleled innovation, infrastructure investment, and economy of scale. In a recent Time Mobility poll, 84% of respondents said that they couldn't live a single day without their mobile device in their hand. 64% of those respondents said that they sleep with their mobile device right next to their bed. That would be me included, and I'm certain many of you around this room. So people are using mobile to make nearly every aspect of their lives more efficient and sustainable, whether it's through consumer, business, or government transaction. So what is next? As Sokru mentioned, the Internet of Everything. It's not a new term. It's been around for a while, but we're finally seeing some real progress. And just what is that? It is heterogeneous. It's encompassing both vertical and horizontal products and services. It is wireless and wireline. It is indoors and it's outdoors. And it's populated by products that run the gamut from very basic services to intelligent machines that have smart capabilities to make our lives more efficient and livable. This is an evolving world in which things are engaged by an individual and networks appear and disappear based on an individual's movement throughout the world, creating unprecedented services, efficiencies, and sustainability opportunities. This is also a world in which technology and intelligent designs are harnessed to create smart, sustainable cities and high-quality living and high-quality jobs. As cities work to leverage the Internet of Everything, they can simply access existing cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or fiber networks and add endpoints. Qualcomm, for example, is putting our chips in streetlights, in smart meters for utilities. We're putting them in big belly trash containers around cities. We're putting them in parking meters, as Sokru mentioned. He has problems finding a parking space. So almost everything you can think of, there can be an endpoint connected to a wireless network and make that more efficient. So let me play a brief video for you that describes some of our efforts.
A new era is underway. As time rushes forward, new generations are demanding greater connectivity throughout life, and many cities require smarter solutions to keep up. Qualcomm Technologies, a leader in digital communication, is engineering the fabric of citywide connectivity. We call it Qualcomm Smart Cities, and it's helping transform how people live and work around the world. Qualcomm Technologies and open communication standards can help cities to scale efficiently, move data intelligently, and interconnect city services. Imagine buildings, transportation, energy, and infrastructure working together seamlessly. a new era of intelligent connectivity that streamlines city management without overhauling public and private infrastructure. Smart cities can empower workers with smarter tools and services. They can advance traffic management and safety on the road and optimize electric vehicle charging to help reduce CO2, supporting a new age of transportation. They can enable us to harness energy more resourcefully and intelligently connect municipal services to support more efficient use of resources. As the world presses forward, Qualcomm Innovation is helping transform the city ecosystem to create smart and sustainable solutions built for tomorrow. Welcome to the future of citywide connectivity.
Okay, so that gives you a broad overview of some of the things we're doing. As I mentioned, we're putting chipsets in many of those endpoints, and you saw some of those being smart meters. You saw the transportation one. You saw the big belly trash can. I wanted to take this opportunity, though, to focus on one particular project that we're involved with, involving our most precious resource, and that is water. Qualcomm and our partner CH2M Hill are working together to mature machine-to-machine technologies that will help to manage water resources more efficiently and effectively. For instance, we have partnered with the, did I move that? We have partnered with the City of Cincinnati to employ intelligent water technology such as advanced monitoring and surveillance to enable operators to analyze what's happening throughout the distribution system. So you're going to get many positive results by putting chipsets and sensors along the distribution system to reduce leak detection, to improve water quality, to prevent issues such as what happened in the Elk River chemical spill in West Virginia, and ultimately to help with situations of drought. And these very same technologies that are being employed in cities can actually be employed in more rural communities, such as our local avocado farms in San Diego. And I'm going to play a video on this.
You take any business and get a 234% increase in the cost of the main ingredient to your production, that's a big hit. The continuing challenge is to find more efficient ways to use the water. If we had no water, it's over.
Environmentalists warn that we are in a drought right now.
Farmers in California are now facing the worst drought in 4 decades.
Water officials up and down the state say that we are in a drought and the agriculture industry is already suffering.
Avocado production in California is about 95% of all the avocados produced in the whole country. A mature avocado tree needs about 450 gallons of water per week to keep the tree healthy and to produce the fruit. I've been farming avocados for over 30 years. I started the business myself. I started from nothing, single employee, namely me, and then it grew from there. The plant's native environment is tropical forest, so it's water intense, and we're growing avocados essentially in the desert. The water is very expensive in this part of Southern California.
The problem we're facing in California specifically is the 7-year drought cycle, where population continues to grow, but the amount of water remains the same. 30% is lost before it even reaches the customer. The type of changes we're proposing are to take existing sensors and make them smarter. Traditionally, water is delivered to reservoirs and rivers through natural runoff. From there, it's piped to water treatment plants. Challenges along the way are leaks, quality, and the cost to deliver the water. The technology implemented helps identify these problems before they become large and even pose a danger to public health.
Qualcomm's excited about bringing smartphone technology to the water industry. Our belief is the industry can leverage from existing billion-dollar networks that are highly reliable and extremely secure.
If this water is saved, there'd be more water available during drought years to reduce economic impacts. And that smart system will give them instant information about how water is being used in their system and how much it's costing them to deliver the water to their customers.
The price of wholesale water delivered into the avocado growing area has gone up 234%. The continuing challenge is to find more efficient ways to use the water.
We use our smartphones to help us function better every day. Why not use that same technology to help improve our water systems?
When we used to pay $72 an acre foot, the efficiency of the water delivery really wasn't that critical. When we're paying $1,200 an acre foot, get your attention. Any device, technology, technique is welcome.
Okay, well, cut off, I think, a little bit at the end, but you get the picture here. So let me just conclude by saying that, smart cities is a great issue because it supports sustainability, it supports economic development and efficiency. So it's something that we all aspire for and want to achieve. So the key here, as Sokhu said, is really developing these partnerships between the cities themselves, the industry that provides the technologies, the NGOs, and other stakeholders, so that we can really begin to innovate and get these technologies out into the cities and all lead more productive lives. So thank you, and if you have any questions, happy to answer.
I've never asked a question at any one of these, but actually when I was thinking about this, and since my background is in finance and all that good stuff, is there, and talking about cybersecurity, so you have these systems that you're setting up that are all linked. Is there some large systemic risk from a cybersecurity standpoint that linking everything up with technology might cause that's large?
I mean, certainly one could argue that the more endpoints you have, the greater the risk. So that's something that, we as a company are always concerned about, not only just cybersecurity protection, but privacy. Consumers want to know that, their data, when they're being provided these services, is not being used for illegitimate purposes or without their knowledge. So very important question. A lot of work to be done on both of those issues. As you know, it's both being debated within the agencies and in Congress. So we're an active participant in those discussions.
Do you mind stating your name and office?
Yep. Sean Kimmel with Congressman Dan Lipinski's office out of Chicago. I think everybody welcome to the recording. Hello? Okay. Sean Kimmel with Congressman Dan Lipinski's office. Thank you guys for a wonderful presentation. It's very interesting and definitely a very relevant topic. So on the topic of standardization of these types of technologies so that cities can make use of technologies that have been developed elsewhere, I think one of the challenges there is the aspect of innovation. How do you still promote innovation? Coming from the city of Chicago, I think that there's a lot of unique challenges that Chicago faces due to the amount of freight that goes through there, for example. So maybe a question for both of you. What are some of the challenges in standardizing these technologies across different geographic regions in terms of demographics or just local specific factors?
Yeah. So certainly NIST takes the lead on the standards. I'll let you tackle that.
Yes. So that's actually a great question because a lot of cities have common issues, but at the same time they also have different issues. So the trick here is we're not trying to solve 100% of the issues by standards. I mean, that's not going to be really, either desirable or possible. But you can probably solve a bulk majority of the issues, which probably is low-hanging fruit to some extent. And by collaborating among different cities in a more economical manner. And specific problems, just like you mentioned, may need a little more specific solutions. But those solution technologies may already exist in somewhere else who may be very similar to Chicago, for example. It's just question is how to find them, how to identify them, how to kind of get them work together. These cities sometimes they do not even know what each others have. And there's no mechanism, nobody's even facilitating those kinds of issues. So what actually I'm doing here is not much more than facilitation of those discussions and partnerships. I'm not sure I'm answering the question, but that's kind of what is happening right now.
Yeah, I would just add from the private sector, one of the great things, great advantages that Qualcomm has is, we're promoting the development of wireless networks to connect all of these things, devices, machines, people to people. So we're really agnostic to whom we're connecting to, but we want them all to be using the same network so that they do communicate with each other. So we've started a voluntary industry standards group called the All-Scene Alliance. And we have various companies from industry that are gathering together to try to develop some common standards to link all these technologies together. And we work closely with the government agencies on that too.
Hi there, Brianna Tambulian, Senator Markey's office. I went to a hearing last week on the NIST framework, or cybersecurity framework. I'm wondering if you're encouraging your cities and private partners to adopt the framework, or if that can be, I know our office is pretty concerned about cybersecurity, so we're excited about smart cities, but want to encourage people to adopt the framework and other securities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, speaking just from Qualcomm's perspective, I mean, we've been involved in that debate since it started. We're closely, monitored all the development and release of the final regulations. So it's something we pay attention to, but as you know, they're voluntary standards, so it's up to each individual company. But you're certainly right. As cities deploy more and more of these technologies, potentially the risk can be greater. So we have to be very astute in our efforts here.
Just curious, because I'm an engineer. I worked in for a water distribution company.
Oh, okay.
Could you talk a little bit more about the sensors, like for leak detection, for example? And
sure. Sure. So
really, are they effective, or are they working?
Right. Well, we've had terrific results, and just so you gain a better understanding, of the partnership. Qualcomm is an expert in producing the chips and the sensors, and so we're very good at communications, but we're not an expert in the water industry. So that's why we seek out partners when we're going to work with cities that are experts in these areas. CH2M Hill is a very well noted expert, in the water industry and much beyond. So we use their expertise to go out and map the city's water distribution system, say where are the key points in which we need to put connectivity, attach connectivity to, and then we'll go and put our chipsets in there or our sensors along those lines, and then you're getting near real-time data feedback from those key points, so that if it's a chipset in a water meter at a home, and suddenly your water usage is going up 3 times over normal usage, over the year, a water operator might come to the conclusion that something is abnormal. There may be a leak, and go check it out. Vice versa, you can also do that along the water lines themselves through putting in sensors. So we really rely on our strategic partners to identify where to locate them, and then we just provide the technology. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Daniel Wolf with the Corporate Council on Africa. Could you talk a little bit about the international space and how standards and smart technology is in not just the U.S., but some European markets and some development markets as well?
Sure. You know, I'm not a standards expert, but I can tell you that, you know, there are various standards bodies, of course, all around the globe. You know, one of the real benefits we've gotten out of working with the Global Cities Teams Challenge is the Department of Commerce has sent other representatives from their trade, International Trade Administration, and through that, they have connected us with U.S. embassies around the world. And those embassies are actually very anxious to help U.S. companies integrate into smart city initiatives in cities all across the world. So for me, not being a standards expert, I can actually go to somebody, a U.S. embassy where they have some expertise or some knowledge of the local makeup of an international city and help us to then integrate. On the larger question of, should there be some international standards, maybe Silku has some comments on that point, I don't know.
So just give one comment. International collaboration is extremely important in smart cities because of 2 or 3 different reasons. First reason is there are smart cities out there outside of U.S. in certain aspect probably very much advanced a lot of cities in Europe, they've been investing a lot of money into this. So that's one aspect. So we need to see what's out there and collaborate, work together. And again, we don't want to reinvent the wheel necessarily. Secondly, standardization is extremely important because there will be, this is right now at that stage that everybody's trying to define standard, everybody's trying to make their standard the best and the most dominant standard in the world. So there is a lot of discussions going on, and this is the right time that we have to really, put in international collaborations because you really need to collaborate here. It's not like you can just set one standard and say, or expect the whole world we're going to just use it as is. You have to work with it to adopt it.
Randy Snodgrass, World Resources Institute. At least 2 of us at this table, my dining partner and me, saw our hometowns listed in the list of cities that you're working with. But my hunch is that a lot of people in this room didn't see their hometown. And I'm wondering, how do you determine what cities you're going to work in and which ones you're not?
Yeah, really interesting question. I think first and foremost, there are cities that are more progressive in this area, and they're putting out, RFIs or RFPs in which you can respond to directly. There are other cities that are just now investigating, and I think that is really the key to what Silku's doing. And he's bringing these cities here and allowing them to see, in many cases, for the first time, what industry can bring and other stakeholders. And then they can go back and see, address what their needs are. And so we've actually met some smaller cities through this process that we never would have engaged with, previously. So it's very much a work in progress. There are some key cities, like we're in New York City, obviously. We're working with Chicago very closely. We're in LA. San Diego has been mentioned now as one of the top 5 smart cities in the world by National Geographic. So we do a lot of work there with their critical infrastructure. But city of Cincinnati, does that top the lists of some of the big publications? Not necessarily, but we're doing a water project there. And that came through CH2M Hills partnership. So various ways, and I think just what the Global Cities Team Challenge really opens those doors.
So just to add to that, so from the Global City Teams Challenge perspective, we don't choose any city. It's open program. Anybody can join and anybody can partner. There's no winners and losers. Everybody's winner. That's the concept. So any city that is interested in working with other cities with other solutions, or they have an existing solution they want to make it replicated to other cities, is doors wide open. So the list you have seen, it's not like I chose any of them. It's more like they came to us and participated.